Have you ever made an offer and never heard back, or you just got a flat out no from the seller? Let's talk about why that happens and how to make an offer that they can't ignore. Look, I understand that the market has shifted and it's no longer a seller's market. It's either a neutral market or a buyer's market. And many buyers, you're thinking they have to accept my offer. They have no other choice, but that's not true. Yes. Some sellers need to sell because they may be going through a divorce or they're getting married, they've got a job transfer, people may have died, they might be having kids, or kids are moving out of the household. Whatever is going on, there are going to be some sellers that absolutely do need to sell, but there are going to be many other sellers that can afford to wait. So you might be telling yourself that a seller is willing to take any offer just because their house has been sitting on the market. But let me take you into the seller's mind for just a minute, because once you're in there, you will understand that this is where many buyers are missing it. So imagine for just a minute that you are the seller. You've cleaned the house, you've packed everything up, you've painted, you've made repairs, you might have even staged it, you might have even done some renovations. And you've decided that you feel that $500,000 is the right number. Not 480, not 450. You've said $500,000 is the right number. They're telling themselves, okay, you know what? A buyer's gonna come in, they're gonna offer probably $490 and we'll sell around $495. That is what a seller is thinking. And then bam, a buyer walks in, they offer $425. That is $75,000 less than the seller was thinking. How do you think the seller is going to react? Are they going to be like, oh, you know what? That's just a tactic. Let's just go ahead and play the game. No. Many of them are so upset. They are so insulted. They are very emotional. Remember, this is their home. They might be raising their family in there, or if they're not living in it, it might be a family home. Somebody might have passed away, and this house has special meaning. They're immediately on the defensive. And when they're on the defensive, they are not listening. They are not taking anything in, and often they just won't even respond. So the truth is, price is very emotional. Even if you're the buyer who's very savvy and this might be an investment property for you, it's still going to be emotional for them. Everyone wants to feel they're being treated fairly, that their home, their asset, and their memories are being respected. So when you come in with a super low offer with no comps and you're not explaining why, you're not starting a conversation, you're actually ending one. Even if the house is a little overpriced, or let's be honest, a lot overpriced, your lowball offer can kill any chance for communication or negotiation. Sellers often think they're not serious, they're just testing the waters. Let's wait for a real buyer. So here's a quick tip for you. If the house is overpriced by a little or a lot, that is completely fine. Just ask your agent to run the comps for you for the local area. Make sure you pull the comps and do the math, and you back it up with information and real data. Because facts, they open doors, and feelings, they shut them. So here's a real life story for you. I had a buyer, let's call him Jeff. He wanted to offer $350,000 on a $425,000 home. His reasoning was, it's been on the market for 90 days. They must be desperate. So of course you're gonna know how this ends. They weren't desperate, they were just picky. They didn't even bother to respond to his offer. They just completely ignored him. Come to find out, a week later, an offer came in at $415, which of course the seller accepted. The buyer came in with great questions, a pre-approval letter, and justified their offer with the data. So if you want the seller to say yes, or at least come back with a counter, make sure that your offer doesn't feel like a slap in the face. Price is a big part of it, but also is tone, timing, and presentation. When your offer shows respect and professionalism, the seller is more likely to want to work with you. And that is how you win negotiations, by building a bridge and not burning one. All right, let's talk about why lowball offers usually don't work, even if you think you're being strategic. So here's the thing. You are not bargaining over a used car. This isn't eBay. You're negotiating someone's home, something that they've invested time, money, emotion, and memories into. And when you throw out an offer that's like $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 underneath list price, it doesn't spark conversation. It usually sparks being offended. So let's go back to that home that's $500,000. You want to go ahead and throw $400,000 at it and see what happens. Well, don't forget that the seller controls the timeline. They can actually reduce that price systematically. So one month they might go down $5,000, another month they'll go down $10,000. Yes, I understand that they are going down, and you're watching watching the market and you're thinking, well, they're going to eventually get to my number. But way before they ever go from 500,000 to 400,000, they're going to hit a number in there where other buyers are watching that house too. And then they determine, you know what, that's a good deal. And someone is going to snap up that house well before it gets down to that 400,000. So while you're waiting for them to get to that number and hoping that they're going to cave, someone else is going to snap up that property way before you ever get there. Lowball offers, they don't make you look strategic. They make you look unsure, unqualified, and uninterested. At least that's how the sellers interpret it. I'm not saying that in this market that you need to always pay full price. Some homes are priced correctly and they do go at full price. But other homes, yes, they are priced a little high or a lot high. But when you're going to make an offer that's anywhere between 5 to 7% lower than the list price, you are going to want to come with the comps, the numbers, the data, armed with information to support why you are offering the number that you are offering. Because just throwing a number at a seller to see if they're going to bite, that is not a strategy. That is a gamble, one which you're probably going to lose. So real story, I once had a listing. We listed the house at $450,000. The sellers had put on a new roof, new water heater, new AC, new flooring, new paint. House was absolutely fantastic. And a buyer came in at $375,000. The sellers were so insulted, they instructed me, do not even respond because we're not here to play games. 2 days later, we got an offer on the house for full price. So the buyer's agent calls me and they say, well, wait a second. The buyers are so upset. They thought that the seller was going to counter, at least come back with something. No. They do not have to do anything. Now, I always recommend that my sellers do, but sellers, they get to control what they want to do with their house, and I just follow the instructions. So if you're a buyer, don't fool yourself into thinking that just because you present an offer that the sellers have to counter. They're supposed to acknowledge that they received your offer, but they don't have to do anything more than that. So here's a key takeaway. Just because you present a lowball offer doesn't mean you're going to get a response, and it doesn't mean it's going to get accepted. Sellers do have options. They can reduce the price of the listing. They can take the house off the market and relist it. They can reshoot the photos and redo the description in order to gain new interest. They can also do some updates and upgrades to the house to help justify its current price. So ask yourself, do you want a deal or do you want this house? Because most of the time, you don't get both. Now let's talk about a trend that I'm seeing way too often, and that is buyers making offers without seeing the house. I do not ever recommend this, whether I represent the buyer, and certainly not when I represent the seller. Now I understand for my relocation buyers out there, when you are not local and you are going to have to move, you don't want to miss out on the one. You see a property online and you're like, okay, you know what, from the photos, I want to make an offer on that house. But I will tell you 9 times out of 10, things go sideways and they go sideways fast. Some buyers are emailing in offers, blind offers, sight unseen, never even took a peek at it, never watched a video, didn't ask anybody to look at it for them. Nope, just sending an offer in that says, hey, here's a lowball offer for you. If the seller accepts it, then I will fly in and I will see the house. All right, now just stop right there. So imagine that you're the seller for a second. You get an offer in your lap and it says, I've not seen the house. I know nothing about it. No one's even looked at it. There's no video of it, but I want you to accept my lowball offer and I will now fly in to see the house 15 days later. If I like it, I'll continue to move forward. And if I don't, then I'll go ahead and back out. The seller is thinking, wait a second, I'm losing time on the market. There are people that are actually showing up at my door that I'm going to miss this opportunity to see the property because you want to tie it up so no one else can see it and make an offer on it until you can get over here. Most sellers are not going to accept that, especially in a market right now where it is so hard to get a buyer and an offer. This is something they usually pass on. Now, 9 times out of 10, when that happens, what I honestly see is a buyer will walk into the property and they will look around and they will go, you know, it looked bigger in the photos online. It's just not for me. The wall color, it looked different when I was watching it on my computer screen. I think we're going to go look for something else. And 9 times out of 10, that deal just falls apart. So many sellers are sharing these horror stories with other sellers, and now sellers are often saying, No. You want to make an offer on the house? Then you're going to have to come see it in person, or at the very, very least, do a video tour of the property. Here's what sellers tell me when they get an offer that is sight unseen. They tell me that they feel that the buyer is not serious, or they are just testing the waters, and they really feel that once they do come in during the inspection period, they're just going to back out anyway. And they're not wrong. I have seen situations where sellers have accepted sight unseen offers and they were extremely low just because they were happy to get an offer. And come to find out, there was one buyer investor that was going through town. They put 20 offers out there. 9 sellers accepted the offer, and they all had a 15-day inspection period. During that 15-day inspection period, that buyer negotiated aggressively with each one of those 9 sellers, got one person to agree to all the terms and conditions that they wanted, and then canceled the other 8 on the last day of inspection. Now, of course, those sellers were livid, and it's people like that who've burned everybody that's making this situation very difficult for all the buyers right now. So what do you do if you are relocating and you really just can't see the house? Maybe you had just come in for the weekend, you looked at all the homes, there was nothing that you liked, you had to leave town, and then the day after, the perfect house of your dreams, or at least you think so, pops up and you can't turn around and fly back. What do you do? Well, hopefully you're working with a very good agent who is going to do a walkthrough of the property and take a tour for you. Now, I don't mean the tour that the agent has made where it's like a cute little dancey thing on social media and it's like come in and come out. No, I'm talking about the boring, plain vanilla tour that what I do is I come in with my camera and I walk in very slowly and I look up, I look down, I look sideways, I point things out, I say the floor is tile. You've got 10-foot ceilings, it's got some crown molding, and then I go room by room so that they can see and kind of get a really good feel of the room so that they can truly make a more informed decision instead of an absolutely blind one. Another thing you can do is you hope that there is a floor plan or that you can get a floor plan of the house so that you can see the layout and you can see the dimensions of the room. Even if you're not local, you can still learn a lot about the neighborhood, especially if there is an HOA there, because you can call the board and the board members, or maybe you can zoom in on a meeting and you can hear what's going on. You can also do even more research by finding out what is going on in the area. So you can do a lot of research to help you structure the best offer. Buying a house is not like making a hotel reservation that you just cancel the next day. You're dealing with real people, real consequences on the other side of that transaction. So if you are serious about a home, make time to come and see it. And if you can't come see it, make sure that your agent is going to be able to go and do a virtual tour for you. Don't expect the seller just to roll the dice, pull the house off the market, and then wait for you to make a decision many days, if not weeks later. Listen, I get it. When you're moving from another state or even within the same state, but many hours apart, it can feel overwhelming and it can feel frustrating. And you don't have to go it alone. I would be happy to help talk you through this or at least give you some advice. So you can click the link in the description below, or if you want to scan the QR code, you can do that. Let's schedule a time to chat. No pressure, just conversation. All right, so we've just spent a lot of time talking about what doesn't work, and that is lowball offers, blind offers, and insulting the seller. Now let's also talk about what does work to get your offer accepted. Because yes, there is a way to get a great deal and the sellers are still saying yes. And it's not always about the price. All right, this one is huge. You want to understand the seller's motivation. Are they needing to move to a certain area at a certain time? Are they going through a divorce? Now, many sellers may not want to share this information because they feel that it is going to hurt them in the negotiations, but many of them are very open to discussing what they absolutely need. For some people, it is about the money. For other people, it's about the closing date. They want to stay through a certain date because they don't want to have to move twice. Sometimes for other people, they just want to feel that the home is going to someone who is going to love it and care for it as much as they do. When you know a seller's motivation, then you can write an offer that speaks to what they need, and they're more likely to listen. Now you're going to want to make a fair, strong offer. I didn't say full price, though you might need to if the property is priced very well. But if there's no competition and you feel it's priced a little high, just make a fair offer. And what is a fair offer? Pull all the information around that community. So for example, let's say in the community that you're looking at, there are 5 homes that sold in the last 6 months. And of those 5 homes were bigger, they had more updates, they had new roofs, and they were priced less than the home that you're looking to buy. Now that's real data. So then you take that data and you say, listen, I just don't know how this is going to work out. I really, really love your home, but I'm seeing that these 5 other homes in the last 6 months, they all closed right at the same price or a little bit lower than what you're asking for, and they were bigger and they had all these things. So I'm just struggling to justify why we would want to pay as much or more for this property than these other ones. Now, this especially works if there is competition on the market, because it tells the seller, you know what, you can walk down the street and you can buy another home in this community or another community around the corner that is the same or better than my house for the same or less money. So when you come in with the data, with the research to show I can do better than this home, I like this home, but if we can agree to the terms, I'll be happy to move forward with it. But if not, buyers, you have options right now, as long as you're willing to walk away. But fair price is what's going to get you the house. Now, if you really want to impress the seller, it's not just offering a fair price, it's also offering favorable terms. And what are some of those favorable terms? So let's say the inspection period in your area might be 15 days. So if you are able to shorten your inspection period, meaning that you're going to make a decision about the house and moving forward in less time, so they're not losing as much time on the market, that is really fantastic. Also, if you show that you have already gone through the loan process and that you are very close to getting your loan approval in a shorter period of time, that is going to look very, very favorable. Also, if you put down a good sizable escrow, maybe in 1 or 2 deposits, to show the seriousness of you not walking away from the deal once you've gone through inspections and you've gone through loan approval, that is also going to make you look very strong and very serious. And of course, the last one, making sure that the closing date lines up with what the seller is really going to need. Next, you want to be the easy button. You want sellers to know that working with you is going to be very smooth and as stress-free as possible. You want to communicate that, you know what, you return phone calls, you act quickly, you're open to conversation and negotiation. Everybody wants to work together to getting to the same end, and that is making sure that the property sells. This also includes working with a lender or selecting a lender that is local, that knows the community, that is also equally as responsive to phone calls and communications. So in a property that we had recently listed for sale, we actually got 2 offers on that property. One of them was a little bit less than what the seller would like, and one of them was a little bit more. The one that was a little bit more, that buyer came out just really strong and really aggressive and just had a laundry list of things that they wanted right off the bat before negotiations were even finished. And the seller just felt like, this seems like a lot, and this person seems very, very intense, and I don't know if it's worth it for a few extra $1,000s to deal with this person. I don't know that they're serious, and if they're asking for all this stuff now, can't even imagine what it's going to be like once we get under contract. So the seller picked the offer that was a little bit less just because they wanted to have the easy button. Another thing that's going to help you get your offer accepted is you want to work with an agent that knows the market. This isn't the time to guess. This is the time where you do not want to select an agent because you owe someone a favor or you just want to be nice to a family friend. You want somebody who actually knows the market very, very well, because like in our area, a $500,000 house in Gainesville is very different than a $500,000 house in Ocala. One could be way, way overpriced, and one, you're wondering where the walls are. Your agent should be able to pull the data, not only show it to you, but explain it to you. They should understand how to structure an offer and how to win in a multiple offer situation. Because yes, we are still seeing those in well-priced homes. And as crazy as it may sound, you want to know how to strategically time your offer, because it's not just about writing an offer, it's also knowing when to present it and how to present it. So for example, Right now, I'm filming this on the weekend. I had a buyer come in this morning and wanted to make an offer. We know that there are showings tomorrow and the rest of the week. So when I wrote the offer for them, I made sure to know that we want an answer by 7 p.m. today, because we want to make sure that we get under contract and we cancel all those other showings so that we don't get into a bidding war. So strategically timing your offer is also important. So if you are moving to Florida in the next 2 months or the next 2 years and you were thinking about writing an offer, let's schedule a time to talk before you write that offer. I can help you position it in the right way so that sellers will take you seriously and you've got a very good chance of winning that house. Schedule a call with me using the link below and we will build a custom strategy, one that fits your budget, your timeline, and your goals. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.